Good day, dear listeners. This is Pragya, and you are listening to 8th episode of the Conch. As we are in unlock phase 4, many of us have a question that how the pandemic is going to end. So we decided to give a brief on the unbiased and the bare facts on the exact scenario. Again, thanks to VJ for sharing significant points and brainstorming for today's podcast session. We are inching closer to the 10th month of the pandemic, and there seems to be no break from the highly infectious contagion which is destroying the world. As of now, the number of coronavirus cases has crossed the 30 million mark across the world and has already resulted in 9,57,000 deaths. What first emerged as a pneumonia like illness in Wuhan in December 2019 has engulfed 213 nations across the globe. While scientists and medical experts around the world have been working breakneck speed to launch a vaccine to contain the spread of COVID 19, there is one question that everyone has: how will the pandemic end? Well, there isn't an exact answer to the question, even when throughout the course of history several pandemics and epidemics have plagued humanity. However, theoretically, there are two scenarios which may mark the beginning of the end of the pandemic. The first one being a medical ending, and the other option is the social ending. The medical elimination of the pandemic stems from the development of an effective and safe vaccine for the novel coronavirus and following the social protocols strictly. The crisis seems to be unfolding in India in a worse manner that we could have imagined. While the official caseload has touched the 5 million mark, experts suggest that the COVID 19 pandemic will peak at different rates in different regions of the country. Hence, our response to the pandemic has to be more localized and effective. To get rid of the pandemic from the root level, even when a vaccine reaches us, we would need prioritization and regulation in place to ensure that COVID 19 vaccine reaches all corners. Many people have a question that how will we reach the medical ending of the pandemic? As of now, more than 165 vaccine candidates are currently in different stages of preclinical and clinical trials, and more than 33 of them have reached the critical last stage of human trials. The good news is that even if the vaccine is not completely effective, it will still be effective in controlling the spread of the pandemic. In a way, a 50 to 60% effective COVID 19 vaccine is also acceptable. According to Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is a US top infectious disease expert, a vaccine which is safe and 50 to 60% effective will also be acceptable. Even though the scientists are aiming to produce a vaccine which is 75% effective, early data of the preliminary studies have shown positive results for several vaccine candidates, and we may cautiously expect a moderately effective vaccine by the first quarter of 2021. To be frank, vaccine is a step forward in ending the pandemic because once safe and effective vaccines are launched for public circulation and the process of mass vaccination begins, the cases will slowly start to go down, as will the mortality rate. Vaccines will arm the world with a good fighting chance against the contagion and take the burden off the overwhelmed medical care system. This may be considered a step forward in ending the pandemic. The other ending of the pandemic, as observed in the case of the world's deadliest pandemics, the Spanish flu, could be the social ending. The deadly pandemic, which infected 500 million people across the world and wiped out 1% of the world's population at that time, ended after 2 long years when people gained immunity against the virus. This type of ending may play out when a large section of the population gets tired of the restrictions and starts stepping out of the houses. When people go back to the business as usual, more and more people will get infected from the disease and develop immunity against the virus. However, herd immunity and the social ending may come at a price which will be beyond our comprehension. Some experts say that we may not be able to end it, but we can slow it down because, according to health experts, there is no way of ending the pandemic in sight. Instead, we need to bring the focus on controlling the spread of the disease. It can only be achieved through the degree of herd immunity. Following the social distancing norms and a safe and effective vaccine, the combination of all three measures will help in slowing down the spread of the disease. With this, we are to close this episode, and to listen to more informative discussions and updates like this, stay tuned to our podcasting channel, The Conch, through YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Also, please subscribe to our channel and share if you like.